Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
So yesterday, what I heard us come to a mixed agreement on was draft 3.1 from John Gray, which is on our committee page today as well. That transfers money from the general fund in order to do a larger buy down of property taxes as we can, to make sure that in these remarkably unstable times, we're doing everything we can to keep costs as low and stable for Vermonters as possible. So would anyone like to see the outlook again or anything else before we move towards voting?
I would, yeah.
Okay.
Where is that outlook? Oh, I see.
Under Julia's name. Julia can join us and show it to us again if you'd like. Does that sound helpful, Representative Brown?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Julia Richter with Joint Fiscal Office. I am joining the Zoom now. While I'm joining the Zoom, the Ed Fund Outlook that corresponds with the drafts is posted on the committee page under my name. This is the same Ed Fund Outlook that we've been looking at for the past week and a half since March 11th. So there's no new information on here that I'm presenting today.
And the language that we're looking at in draft 3.1 from John, which column is it that would be voting on there?
So draft 3.1 is what?
That's the full.
Okay, the full buy down, that is in here in column E. I'll go ahead and would you like me to go ahead and share my screen? So
You go a wee touch bigger there.
Sure.
Lovely.
How's that?
That's lovely. Thank you.
Okay. So the draft 3.1, that's the full buy down. Is that correct? Let me just pull it up. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So draft 3.1, that's the full buy down. So that's referencing column E. What we see here in column E is that one-time general fund transfer of 77.2 million. That's being used to uniformly buy down the average property tax bill in FY26. We also are using that full education fund surplus of 41 million to buy down the average property tax bill uniformly, which results in an estimated average bill increase of 1.1% compared to the present.
And that you're talking about the real estate tax bill. 1.1, right? The average increase you said would be 1.1, the average increase in.
Yes, so this uniform 1.1% corresponds with your average statewide education property tax bill. So this is a 1.1 average increase for your non-homestead properties as well as your homestead properties.
So we're putting them both up at the same amount.
Correct. The income yield is also set in this modeling to correspond with the same average bill increase. So the property tax credit that's earned in fiscal year 2026 is being earned based off of an income yield that would also correspond with a 1.1% average increase.
Thank you. Just staring down through the rest of this, but
Representative Burkhardt, did you have a question? Or Representative Brannigan, are you done?
I think I am, yes, Madam Chair, thank you.
Representative Burkhardt?
And I think I may have thought through the answer. I just wanted to be clear, Julia, is it a 1.1% increase in the average property tax rate or the property tax bill?
Thank you for the clarification. The average tax bill.
Oh.
Did I say rate?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I just saw that one. No, I was trying to think it through myself and yes, yes.
So yes, to clarify, we're talking here about the average tax bill increase. And that's important to note because we are seeing that estimated grand list growth of approximately 14%. So for instance, what we saw a couple of years ago was we were seeing actually an average bill increase, but our average tax rate decrease. So looking at the tax bill allows us to look at the overall picture, not just one piece of the bill equation.
Yes, so we've got a couple of communities in Franklin County that are always proud that they've lowered their tax rate. So that includes these communities who voted on town meeting day to lower their tax rate. Statewide average is still a 1.1% increase in the bill, right?
Yeah, so I think there's a few points of that question. One piece that's worth noting is when we're talking about a tax rate, we're solely talking about the rate, not the value, right? So the bill is calculated by taking the value of the property multiplied by the tax rate. So in a community that's seeing a decrease in equalized tax rate, that does not necessarily mean a decrease in their actual bill. Because the other piece of that puzzle is we can consider equalized rates, which is pre-CLA, where everyone is at the statewide average CLA, as we're looking at here, whereas our actual rate is post-CLA. So if the community has a CLA that's lower than the statewide average, then their rate is going to go up to compensate for the fact that they're underappraised. If it's higher than the statewide average, then their rate will go down to compensate that they're higher than the average appraisal in the state.
Okay, good. That's really helpful. I'm going to vote yes on this. Of course, we've talked this all over and over. Well, I'm voting yes. I just want to make sure that I understand all the little intricacies. So when my people call me and say, Carolyn, I just got my bill and I remember. Okay, so the CLA is a factor, and what other hints might there be?
Yeah, so right here, we're talking about our statewide average property tax bill, and really emphasis on statewide and average, right? Because when we think about our homestead property tax, that's a function of a number of pieces. One is the statewide yield that is being contemplated here. That's what you see here in line D. The other is the local per pupil spending, right? And the per pupil spending is the school district budget minus its offsetting revenues. So the per pupil spending, and that's calculated by the education spending and the weighted pupil count. So everything that's specific to that community is going to be impacting the per pupil spending. And so together, that's how we see those different homestead property tax rates across the state.
Okay, that's helpful, Julia. I may have to call you back when tax bills come out.
You know how to find me.
And Representative Brannigan, it's possible that this is not the yield bill that will become law.
I understand.
Okay, Representative Higley.
Madam Chair, just one other thing that should be considered too, I believe, is any towns that have a reappraisal. So that 1% could definitely be off by quite a bit to some folks, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the 1.1% is an average.
Right.
So, there will be communities across the state that will be seeing a decrease in their average bill. And other communities across the state that are seeing an increase in their average bill, just specifically within the community. With respect to a reappraisal, in theory, the CLA is meant to account for the reappraisal structure. So for instance, if you have a community that is significantly underappraised, below that statewide average, and then they are appraised to 100% of fair market value, then their CLA would be bringing their rate down so that in theory, their bill would be the same.
But again, just to add to that, a lot of times in that 10 years or whatever it is, there could be dramatic increases in what the new assessors find. So again, it wouldn't be, equal percentage for that CLA, just, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we see, I think, to your point, when communities are reappraised, that there may be, or there will be folks within that community that will see an increase in their property value and other folks in that community that will see a decrease in their property value. And the CLA is bringing sort of I heard Jake Feldman from Tax describe it as kind of like a wave, the CLA with all these boats in the ocean, and it kind of just brings everybody up and everybody down by kind of the same amount. But then when you undergo a reappraisal, it's not as uniform, right? Because they're looking at the community.
Yep, thanks.
So in the vein that Representative Brannigan was talking about, many things could change this. For example, if we approve a bunch of TIFs, that would change this. If there was a catastrophic loss of federal funding, this might change as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah. So thank you for the clarification. So this is our best, to your point, this is a snapshot in time as of March 11th or March 10th. But any other policy choices that are made at the state level and or at the federal level would impact what we're looking at here. And we would see those decisions. I would be putting in, blue lines to reflect policy choices.
Julia, a little while back recently, in talking about the yields, you used the term earned. It wasn't the word I would have used, and I'm not sure I followed you. Maybe I'm not being clear.
I don't remember using the term earned. I'm not saying I didn't, but I would need more context to be able to
Okay.
explain my
Yeah.
remarks.
We can figure it out.
Okay.
Any other questions for Julia?
We'd asked yesterday about the expenditures on the other side. Do we know how much of an increase there is in current use for this 26 year?
I don't know off the top of my head.
And are all healthcare costs in at this point for the entire school year? Or when are those contracts negotiated and the impact of the renegotiations factored in?
I don't know. I would have to follow up.
So the percentage of budgets that we have received in that have been voted was high enough for, I think, a much better sense of stability in numbers than I think we usually have at this point in the session. Can you add more?
Yeah, so for instance, last year, we all remember there were about a third of school budget votes that failed. So we were reevaluating the appropriations, the education payment amount. We do have a significant amount of budget data, and this is, as you all know, but just a reminder, pretty standard for the process of it's March 21st. There will be more budgets that are voted on. There will be more information that we receive. We will have updated grant list information. So there will be a number of other pieces so that when this yield bill moves out of the House and moves to the Senate, the first time that I go into Senate Finance and do this same thing, there will be updates reflecting what has changed between March 10th and now. Pretty typically, we sort of freeze the yield model for the purposes of policy discussion sometime in mid-March so that policymakers can make decisions without every time I come in, it's like, here's a little tweak here and here's a little tweak there. So that we will make those updates in Senate Finance.
Anyone else for Julia? Okay, thank you, Julia. And does anyone need to have John, would anyone like John to take us through draft 3.1? He took us through yesterday. It's up on our page. But he can come sit in the chair again if that's helpful. Okay. Then in that case, I'd appreciate a motion on draft 3.1 of the yield bill.
Madam Chair, I would move that we approve draft 3.1 of the yield bill.
Representative Kimball moves that we find drafting class 25-0974, draft 3.1 of the yield bill, reflecting column
Yes, column.
column E of the education fund outlook. That is dated today that's under our on our committee page today. Favorable. That was like the longest, most convoluted motion, excuse me. Any discussion? Yes, Representative Maslin.
And this is with the whole 77 money.
Yes, Representative Maslin.
Thank you. Just want to make sure I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
I was gonna say again, with deep regret, I can't support this. I'm a small business owner. When we have a surplus and we're looking at a rough year ahead, we don't take it all as profit. We put it into permanent reduction in cost. And this cycle of using tax rates to buy down creates a state of constant crisis in our public schools. We also would be spending the reserve that we need to anticipate the potential impact and cushion us through the potential impact of federal cuts. We've also been here for 3 months, and I know things may be coming, but we still don't have anything on the table that is going to yield the kinds of savings that we need to compensate with the kind of cliff that we're creating for next year. So I hope to be able to vote for this by spring, but at this point I can't, and I'm sorry.
Appreciate that. I have a lot of faith in our ability to do transformation this year, and I understand we have not voted that other bill out yet. And
We haven't seen it yet.
yes. And so I'm hopeful that everyone can, I'm sure this bill will come back to us. And I'm hopeful that we can have a unanimous approval of it then. But in the meantime, I'm glad for the work we've been able to do thus far this year.
Precisely in the same boat, Madam Chair, today. I can't vote the whole 77 million
Oh, okay.
tossed away.
Thank you, Representative Johnson.
Thank you.
Yes, okay.
And I would say I have deep reservations about the 77 million, but I feel that we need to do it right now. And I will sort of use the fact that we have done it to help motivate my work on other parts of the education funding transformation that we need to do in the remainder of the session. But I think this is where I am right now.
For sure. Yes, Representative.
I agree with Bridget, and I just want to echo that comment that I hate spending federal fund money on the education fund. I hate spending it in the value of $77 million. But I'm hoping that it will give us some impetus to move on making some improvements so that we don't have to do this.
Thank you, Representative Feltus, agreed. Seeing no further discussion, if the clerk could please call the roll.
Representative Brannigan,
Yes.
Representative Burkhart votes yes. Representative Feltus,
Yes.
Representative Higley,
Yes.
Representative Holcomb.
No.
Representative Kimball,
Yes.
Representative Maslin,
No.
Representative Odie,
Yes.
Representative Wazazak,
Yes.
Representative Canfield,
Yes.
Representative Kornheiser.
Yes.
We have moved the bill out of committee 9-0.
Thank you, everyone. We are finished for the day. And with the exception of Representative Brannigan, who needs to go do some serious sugaring, I would like, we have an enormous amount of work to do next week. We have been working on 4 different sections of language and sections of policy over the last session. And we have been doing that in a rotating series of interruptions. And we're going to need to put our full attention towards it next week and be very efficient and effective with our work. And so we're going to send out some combination of Charlie and Sorsha are going to send out a lot of materials to folks so we can all reorient ourselves in the work that we've already done and the decisions we've already made and the testimony we've already heard, so that when we enter our work on Tuesday, we can be sort of full steam, fully focused, going ahead with those 4 sections of work. So again, that is the foundation formula work. That is changes to the tax credit system that we have. That is property appraisals in order to make sure that we have a consistent and strong grand list around the state. And then as the property tax category, the property categorization work that's sort of aligned with the appraisal work. And so those are sort of the 4 pieces we're going to be doing next week in preparation for receiving the bill from the Education Committee.
So our committee is not meeting on Monday. We're meeting on Tuesday as we always do.
But I would really appreciate if everyone put time aside on their Monday to spend time really focused and thinking and taking notes and reorienting yourselves, so we don't need to do that together on Tuesday. Thank you. Yeah.
And so if we come across something as we're reviewing all this over the weekend and Monday, that we think we want some more information on.
Please tell me. Thank you. Yes, I would so appreciate emails and phone calls about testimony needed. Thank you. Yes.
Wondering if you could kind of do summary setups for each of the areas, so we really get the direction and the philosophy behind it.
Like right now, this moment?
No.
Okay. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll start the day on Tuesday, really orienting ourselves too.
Good.
Okay,
That's
great.
It's been so small. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for a really incredibly effective week. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.